Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so very much for joining us here on the set of Kingdom Voice. My name is Apostle Lance Bellany, and as always, it is my pleasure to have you here with us to be a part of the journey, to be a part of sharing truths of the kingdom from an apostolic perspective. And it really is a pleasure to have you here with us, as the broadcast wouldn't be what it is without you, your thoughts, your participation, your question, and yes, dare I say, even your disagreements and objections to what I say. One of the things that I always like to point out as a part of the presentation here on Kingdom Voice is the space for public discussion, for debate. We all are coming to the kingdom from a different perspective and from a different place. We're coming to the kingdom from different experiences and different ideologies and understandings. And the kingdom is broad enough. But there is also the standard of the kingdom. And let me explain before I go on and get too far along. Life is a standard within this present world. Okay. There are certain things that are required for life to exist, for life to be sentient, for life to be present. And those things are common across every individual that embraces life in this present world. There is no changing that. Those things are immutable. Those things are unchanging. They present themselves every time a life presents itself in this present world. Likewise, in the kingdom, even though we come from different places, there are standards that are immutable within the kingdom. Those standards don't change from one person to the next, from one culture to the next, from one experience to the next. Those standards that are being established and have been established by Elohim are immutable. And as a result of that, what we want to do is we want to embrace those standards of the kingdom, but allow the individuality of those embracing those standards to come into play as well. So I wanted to encourage you with that aspect as well. When we talk about all of us coming from different perspectives, different experiences, different knowledge bases, we bring all of that to the kingdom. But what I want to make certain that everyone understands is that the kingdom, as established by Elohim, also has standards that the kingdom requires for you to be a part of the kingdom and to participate in the glory, the benefits, the privileges of the kingdom. Amen. 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 Well, so I just wanted to share that little bit with you as we get started here this morning. So indulge me here for just a few minutes. I want to invite all of you to connect, to join me. I know all of you are very, very busy people, dealing with life, dealing with the situations that are present in your daily walk and in your daily presence. And so sometimes you get lost, and but I want to bring back to the forefront of your thought process, connecting with us here at Kingdom Voice Broadcast or at Rock of Truth Ministries. You can do so, as you can see on your screen, via email at lcbellany@yahoo.com. You can mail us at 214 Remington Road, Huntsville, Texas, 77340. You can find us on the podcast at Spotify, on the Spotify platform under Kingdom Talk. And I want to encourage all of you to do so there. And for those of you that would like to make a contribution to the broadcast so that we can continue to expand our reach, expand our the diversity of our presentation, expand some of the technology that we're using, I would encourage you and ask you to make a contribution as you see fit. And it would certainly be appreciated and greatly welcomed. So thank you again, and I really appreciate the opportunity for you to share with you here from the set of Kingdom Voice. Amen. 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 Well, listen, Let's go ahead and move forward. And again, I want to say thank you to all of you that are joining in and checking in with us here at Kingdom Voice. Feel free to share your thoughts and your comments. It's important for me to hear what you have to say, to hear your feedback, and to engage with you in dialogue. It's important for me. Um, I want to say welcome to Bilal from um, Africa. He joining in. I really appreciate you. Thank you, young man. I really appreciate you and all the work that we're doing together. And I really appreciate that you taking a few minutes to join me this morning. He's from Tunisia, as a matter of fact, North Africa. So thank you so very much. Anyway, so let's talk about the topic at hand. Problems are the absence of life. So let me go back to where Mother has been dealing with me about this issue, or this subject and topic. We face issues and problems throughout our lives, and a problem. Let me just kind of loosely define it as something that should have happened, was expected to happen, that didn't happen, or something that wasn't supposed to happen, wasn't expected to happen, that did happen. In essence, it caught you off guard. It presented something that you weren't prepared to address, and thus it becomes a problem. Okay, and that could occur also in your health, in your social life, in your political, anywhere in the scope of life. Those circumstances present themselves and they become problems. Some of them are self-inflicted, others are inflicted upon you by life and by other people. They challenge you. One of the things that I've begun to really understand is that these things often grab our attention and get us to focus on the result, or not the result, the circumstances, the surrounding that, the symptoms surrounding that scenario in whatever way it's playing out, and we begin to focus on the symptom. I need to pay my bill, or I'm sick in my body with a particular disease, or I'm confronted with a social issue, and that issue is the problem that I'm dealing with, focusing on, and the list goes on and on and on in the variety of the way that problems present themselves. One of the things that I understand is that these circumstances, okay, symptoms, as we often refer to them, aren't the thing to be addressed as much as recognizing the absence of what is organic and natural and supposed in the lives of the heir of the kingdom. And what I mean by that is, when we look at the entrance of life, I have come that you might have life, and that you might have that life more abundant. When we look at the entrance of life in our lives, in our daily walk, in our existence, we understand that life is dominant. Okay? Life is the dominant presence. When life is voided, or when life is not present, that vacuum is filled with the undesired. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and this is just an anecdotal example. My wife and I built a home, and it's in a wooded subdivision that we purchased in, 2.25 acres, wooded. It was in a forest setting, and we had to go into that forest setting, and we had to inject order. We had to clear the land. We had to lay the foundation. We had to build a structure. We had to enclose that structure. And now that structure represents order in the midst of chaos everywhere around us. Chaos being the forest is wild. There are insects, there are animals, there's foliage, vegetation, trees, and it wants to grow the way it wants to grow. Okay? No order whatsoever. The survival of the fittest, the strongest survive. Okay? And this home represents order in the midst of all of that chaos. Anytime we don't maintain that order, listen to me closely, the chaos encroaches. If I don't cut the grass, the weeds take over. If I don't take care of the pests, the insects take over. If I don't do certain things, the animals will intrude upon this property. Let me leave this property unattended for a month or 2 months or 3 months. I'll come back and it will be completely, well, not completely, but you will see clearly the encroachment of the chaos on this property. Well, you said, Apostle, where you're going with this? What I'm saying is that when we enter and become heirs of the kingdom, we begin to set life in the midst of the darkness, or in the midst of the chaos, or in the midst of the confusion that life, that this present world presents. Okay? Disorder is the order of the day in this world. This is why Elohim sent life into this world in the presence of Messiah to bring life to those that would receive it. And as a result of life coming in, life begins to dispel the chaos. But the minute we leave and don't attend to certain areas that with life as the focus, the chaos encroaches. And that's where your problems come in. Sickness, your disease, your poverty, your lack. Okay? Your destruction comes in when life is not present. I've often said this, that darkness is the absence of light. Light isn't the absence of darkness. Light is the purposeful presentation of the of the fact. Light is the purposeful. I have to produce the light. Darkness is the natural occurrence of this world. So when light enters, darkness cannot be. All I have to do is take the light out and the darkness will fill the void or fill the absence. Life is what has been introduced into this otherwise chaotic existence that we call this present world. We bring intelligence, we bring light, we bring life, we bring abundance, we bring prosperity. These are the things that life presents. So when I'm talking about problems are the absence of life, I'm saying to us, and life is a very generic, general term of the presence of Elohim, okay? And so when we are challenged with these things of disease and sickness and poverty and lack and the list goes on and on. When we are challenged with these things, one of the things that I want to encourage, and I'm engaged in, is not focusing on the issue of lack of money or the disease at hand or whatever else the problem may be presented as. My focus is shifting to, okay, then there is a need for an injection of life in this area. There is a need for an imposing of life in this area, whatever that area may be. And it is at that point that I begin to release from my presence the life that is needed to address the issue at hand, to address the issue that is presenting, that the undesired issue that is present. Life is powerful enough, if you will, to address whatever the situation may require. And so if I'm releasing life, then whether it's lack, poverty, sickness, disease, disappointment, social injustice, whatever the case may be, life begins to intrude and begins to address all and any of the circumstances or situations that may be present. So instead of, and again, I'm speaking for me, and I welcome your thoughts and your comments. Please feel free to share them. I want to hear what your thoughts are around this issue of life being absent and chaos being present. When we begin to address the life or the absence of life, then we begin to see these other things fall into their rightful place. They get dispelled, they get pushed out, they get pushed away, they get addressed, and then the order that life represents begins to take fold again, begins to come into play, and begins to manifest, and begins to deliver the peace and the order that you desire in that particular area. See, the enemy or life, as in this present world, would desire to have you distracted by the circumstances that it often presents, and thus moving, or rather removing or distracting you from what really will address the issue that is being presented. Again, I want to go back to the promise of Messiah coming, that we might have life and that we might have it more abundant. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come to the Father but by me. If we're going to take the scriptures for what that says, the issue here is that life addresses our issues. Life addresses our issues. I want you to understand something. You are the embodiment of life in the earth. When you embraced the redemption and the eternal redemption of the Creator, when you addressed that, meaning that you embraced what the Creator of heaven and earth delivered to each human individual, and that when you embraced that truth of life and that truth of redemption and that truth of oneness with the Creator, you begin to embody the presence of life. Now, I can release that life into my presence in a variety of ways. I can release that life into my presence. And this is where many of us are falling short in a variety of ways, and especially those of us that are coming out of Christianity, okay? And as I made mention to the young man from Tunisia, coming out of present in Islam, that people are coming to the reality of the Creator from all areas of life, from all religious backgrounds, from all spiritual ideologies. They are coming to the kingdom. And as I said at the very outset of this presentation, that we may come from all areas and all walks and all beliefs, but there are standards in the kingdom that Elohim, that the Creator is establishing, and that's what we must begin to adhere to, okay? Think about it this way. Think about it like this. When we receive the presence of the Creator as a part of our daily lives, the Creator begins to live through me, I begin to embody the presence of the Creator in my area, in my sphere of existence. Someone else in theirs, and another person in theirs, and eventually the presence of the Creator in its multifaceted and in its presentational representations begins to impact wherever that presentation exists. And this is where, and this is how the Creator is promoting and propagating themselves throughout the earth. It is not by some religious rhetoric. It is by life itself. It is by the expression of the Creator. It is by them expressing themselves through me in this place, through you in that place, through another in their place. And by doing that, the Creator promotes themselves across the planet and throughout humanity. I want to go back. I want to go back to the creation as it is delivered. One of the things that I am absolutely confident of, and that is that religion, modern, ancient, it doesn't matter. Religion has been religion and will always be religion. Let me tell you how religion starts, and I'll continue on with the point that I was making. Let me tell you how religion starts. Religion starts from the heart of an individual. It doesn't start from an organization. An organization is launched from the heart of an individual. So religion starts like this. I receive a word from the Lord or from the Creator. Let me speak of it that way. I receive a word from the Creator. That word is real in me, true in me. I believe that word. That word is emphatic. I understand that word. I begin to live from that word. I begin to teach someone else about the word that I received. They, because of my relationship and intimacy with them, they believe me because I've convinced them that I've received something worth having. They begin to embrace the word that I've received. But the problem in that transition is that I've not encouraged them to go get that word from the Creator themselves. I've encouraged them to hear the word that I've received, and they do so with great enthusiasm and encouragement. And they begin to deliver that word, and they begin to live by that word that I gave them to live by. That is religion. Pure in its most basic expression is religion. Why? Because religion does not, our religion embodies you getting it from me rather than you getting it from Elohim. Had that individual gone to Elohim, I promise you one thing. One, they would not have received what Elohim gave me. They wouldn't. They would have received what Elohim gave them. And because of who they are, different from me, probably having a different assignment than I have, would have gotten something different. Slightly at the least, but different nonetheless. And this is where religion begins to grab a foothold. So now that person goes and tells somebody and delivers to somebody else because they have intimacy with that third person. They delivered what the first person gave them in their interpretation, and they now delivered it to the third person. Now, the third person getting it third hand didn't get what the first person gave the second person. They got what the second person interpreted from the first person and then gave to them. And religion starts to build on that. And then we start to collect and gather. And then there gets to be some semblance of similarity between the things that is believed. This is why within religious constructs, this is why you can have a sect over here that believes one thing, a sect over there that believes something else, a sect over here that believes a third thing, because they don't understand that, or they completely miss the idea that what they're doing is transferring something that someone received or some group says they received, rather than what Elohim is on the basis of religion. The kingdom, you've heard me say this on a number of occasions. The kingdom operates on the basis of intimacy. The kingdom operates on the basis of intimacy. Take any world religion, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, it doesn't matter. Take any world religion, and they operate on the basis of what a central voice tells the masses of the people. Now, the argument for those religions is that that central voice came from God. That's what the organizers of that religion says. This came from God. So let's assume, for the sake of conversation, that that is in fact the case. That central voice may have come from God. But one thing I've learned is that if it came from God, then it was for a person or a people for a specific season in a specific place. I may not conform to those things. That may not be my story. So Elohim has the privilege, or the Creator has the privilege, to give to me what they want from me in my season, in my time, in my place. And this is what we often miss in this exchange of religion. I digress. The problems are the absence of life. So in the beginning, in the creation story, in the creation narrative, there was chaos all over the world. The world was plunged in darkness. Darkness covered the face of the deep, and water was over the face of the earth, and there was chaos. They call it the chaos theory. And the first thing that the Creator required was light. Let there be light. Light entered, and guess what happened to the dark? Darkness was present. Darkness was the standard of that day. Darkness was over the face of the deep. How did light enter? Light was purposefully injected in the midst of the darkness. And the minute light showed up, darkness was dispelled. So it wasn't the dispelling of the darkness, it was the pronouncing of the light. He didn't say darkness go away, or they rather didn't say darkness go away. They said light be present. You see, when I talk about life removing the sickness, the disease, the poverty, the lack, it's not the dispelling of those things. It is the presence of life that will dispel those things. When life is present, order is present, health is present, increase and abundance and prosperity are present, knowledge is present. When life is present. So when we begin to talk about life, I'm talking about the presence of the Creator, the eternal presence of the Creator within me. And I began to release life. And let me be very clear, and I don't want to come across as some exhaustive, official, authoritative voice in this matter. I am journeying here right along with you. I'm just exposing and being transparent about my journey with you, as we journey together through the kingdom. But needless to say, that when I began to hear this message from Elohim, it really began to expand upon my understanding and my imposing my journey upon the circumstances that I face on a daily basis. The issue ceased to be the problem that I was facing, and it became more of the releasing and the injecting of life into that situation. Okay. It was more, it became and is becoming more about injecting life into that situation, releasing life, pronouncing life. Okay. Because when life is present, as I said just a second ago, the circumstances back off. They back away. They're not gone. They are waiting. They're waiting just for the lack of light to show up again, and then they'll begin to encroach again. The beauty of it is that we have the authority, we have the privilege, we have the glory to release life at any time. This is the glory of where and who we are as heirs of the kingdom. I can release the life of the kingdom, the light of the kingdom, if you will. Life, light, liberty. I can release those things. Okay. And as I do so, the undesired circumstances begin to dissipate. They begin to go away. They begin to move. You see, one of the things that especially, again, speaking from a place of Christianity, having come out of that, one of the things that I understand is that a lot of the rhetoric that we carry today doesn't come from the kingdom. It comes from religion. Okay. I can remember, I can remember talking about, early on in my walk of faith, confronted with poverty or sickness or lack or injustice. My first recourse was to inject Jesus into the equation, right? And I later and now understand that that was never the intent of the kingdom. I was to inject me into the equation. Why? Because I now began to embody the life that the Messiah had come to give. I embodied that life. It was in me. It was given to me. And as to you as well. I'm not trying to make it all about me. I'm just using me as an example. It was given to us to embody that. As a matter of fact, I think it's written in scripture, not Jesus is the light of the world, if you will, or Messiah is the light of the world. He said, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. So if that is in fact us, then we have the liberty, the authority, and the privilege to release that wherever we are. And watch what will, and I assure you that what will begin to happen in your expression of the life that I'm speaking of, you'll see the dissipation of the problems, of the issues that you face, whether it is poverty, or whether it is lack of necessity, or whether it is sickness and disease, or whether it is injustice, or whether it is ignorance, whether it's scientific, social, or personal ignorance. You'll see that begin to dissipate. And I don't mean ignorance in a malicious sense. I mean ignorance in the sense of a lack of knowledge. This is something that we've got to begin as heirs of the kingdom to begin to address. And I want to say this to many of us who are still grappling with this idea of religion. Religion is going to have you repeat rituals, okay, without results, and it'll have you living from a place of, you've heard me talk about it before, cognitive dissonance. And for those of you that haven't heard me talk about cognitive dissonance, it is the phenomenon of doing something in spite of you knowing that what you are doing hasn't been fruitful, isn't fruitful, and probably never will be fruitful, but you do it anyway. It's not going to yield what you are supposedly believing it to yield, but you do it anyway. That's cognitive dissonance. And that's what religion does. You do things over and over and over and over and over. And that's one of the things that came to my understanding about the walk that I was on, was that I was engaging in cognitive dissonance. I was engaging in a blatant denial of what I knew for what I had been told about that particular thing. I knew different, but I was told something else. I was told one thing, I knew different, but I was doing that which I was told. That's cognitive dissonance. And I just came to terms with it, and I said enough. Sadly for me, it took me multiple decades to come to that understanding. But as the old adage goes, better late than never, right? So it's imperative for us to begin to understand what the problems are and how to dispel these problems. And it is with the presence of life. The presence of life. Release that life that is within you. Release that life into those circumstances. If it's a lack of knowledge, if it's a lack of health, if it's a lack of necessities, okay? If it's a lack of finances, if it's a lack of social justice, release the life into that. And the social justice will fall into conformance. Health will come into play. See, I want to go back to the example that I was telling you about, and I'm looking out of the window into my front yard now. And now I look at a nice plush lawn, manicured flower beds, and just beyond where it is nice and plush, there's chaos. I can see where the natural vegetation, where we decide to let it grow and let it maintain, it just grows wild. But once it encroaches upon that, that's where I keep it maintained. That's where I keep it at bay. It reminds me, I was reading one day and I was meditating. You ever wonder why the ocean doesn't overrun the shore? The waves rush up and then the waves rush back out. Because Elohim has released life, or the word, and that wave or that water rushes up to the shore and it hears the word that has been established, the life, the light, the liberty that has been established about its presence at that place, and it runs back out to sea, comes back in and runs back out. That's just my euphemistic way of relating to the waves on the ocean, because the word maintains it at the ocean shore. When we begin to embrace the light and life of the kingdom, we'll be able to maintain chaos at a distance. We'll be able to maintain it beyond at the perimeter of the sphere of our existence. It's there because we live in this world. This world, the order of this world, is only held in place by the word that Elohim, that the Creator, has established and given to us to establish. We hold the disorder at bay. We hold the disorder in check. And when we want to impose the order upon the disorder, or when the disorder tries to encroach upon our order, we have the liberty to release life to push it back in its place. That's right, Sean, to be gods in the earth. That's exactly what I'm talking about. To be gods in the earth. We have that authority. I was listening to something the other day, and I want to encourage all of you, if you don't mind sharing this on your social media platforms, your Facebook, YouTube, or X, share it on your media platforms. It would certainly be beneficial. But we're talking about the problems are the absence of life. You know, when we start talking about being gods in the earth, we're talking about Elohim, the creator, embodying us. Most religions, listen to me closely, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, most religions require that you always see the creator out there. Okay? The kingdom that has been come to dwell with men allows the creator not to be out there, but the creator to manifest themselves within everyone that will receive them. So now the creator isn't out there, the creator is in here, and in the infinite wisdom of the creator, they have fashioned this thing such that as I embody them, and Sean and a third person and Eric embodies them, they collectively are embodied in the earth and yet maintain their sovereignty to be wherever they want to be. I've said this before and I'll repeat myself again. The creator doesn't operate by the standards of math and physics, because 1 + 1 in this natural world is equal to 2, or 1 - 1 = 0. It means that this world works on the principle of zero-sum game, meaning that if I have 5, I give 1 away, then that means that I now have 4. That isn't the way the creator works. The creator works in a different realm of reality, if you will. The creator can give all of themselves to me, all of themselves to you, and still maintain all of themselves all at the same time. That defies natural thought. That doesn't, it defies the zero-sum game. How can I give everything to you and then turn around and give everything to someone else? I can't, not in this world. In the kingdom, Elohim operates from a different perspective and a different reality. And this is why it's imperative for us to begin to embody and embrace the mind and the thoughts and the intent of the creator. Begin to learn how, not learn how, begin to allow the creator to create in you the understanding of life. Life is essential to everything. If I'm alive, I can't be dead. If life is present, there can't be sickness, disease, poverty, lack, darkness. It cannot be. It is where the lack of that understanding of life exists that these things can encroach. I'm going to say that again. It is the lack of the understanding of life, wherever that exists, these other things can encroach upon you. And they do. They are relentless. Chaos is relentless. Disorder is relentless. Darkness is relentless. wickedness and evil are relentless. It is the maintaining of life. It is the insistence upon the presence of life that will hold all of these things at bay. I was talking with, and I'll leave it at this, I was talking with someone the other day, and I was sharing with them about a situation that we're going through and they're going through. And I was sharing with them that, you know, there are going to be a lot of people that will be praying for the issue that you're going through. And I was sharing with them that you know, a lot of people will be praying for to come against that issue and to pray against that issue. And I said to them very clearly, I said, that's not what I'm going to be doing in this situation. I said, I am going to be releasing life into your situation, because I know if life is present, that thing that you're dealing with, it's going to go away. It is going to go away. It is going to move on and find somewhere else and somewhere else to intrude upon. But it is not going to intrude upon and continue to intrude here, because it will be dispelled. How? By life. By life. If there is, think about it, and I saw a good friend of mine, Charles Rice, who is on the call and on the broadcast this morning. And Charles, I hope all is well. I saw his grandson working on his basketball game the other day, and I have a grandson as well. And yesterday we were out working on his basketball game, grinding as we call it. Now listen. As we were working on the basketball game, there are some things that was lacking in his basketball game, okay? And we're working on those things. And immediately, one of the things that Elohim began to say to me is the lack of that skill in his game is due to a lack of life in his game. Get a load of that. Think about that for a second. Elohim began to say the lack of skill in his game is due to a lack of life in this situation. And so I began to release life. I began to release it. And yes, is it going to take the grind? Is it going to? Oh, absolutely. Just like if I'm going to release order in my lawn, it's going to take cutting the lawn, trimming the weeds, cutting the weeds back. It's going to take some energy. But eventually, the order will be restored or established. Likewise, eventually, the skill will be established for him to do it on demand, when required, when needed, and execute flawlessly. Life can be injected into any and every aspect of your existence. Join me in beginning to impose life upon the areas of lack and the areas of insufficiency, whether it is sickness or insufficient health, or insufficient finance, or insufficient peace, or insufficient justice, or insufficient abundance. Inject life into that and watch all of those things become and present themselves in very sufficient way. Problems are nothing more than the absence of life. Darkness is nothing more than the absence of life. Sickness and disease, the absence of life. Lack and poverty, injustice, the lack of life. And we've been given the privilege, as well as the responsibility, to bring life to the chaos, the disorder, the sickness, the disease, the injustice, the social unrest, all of that, we've been given the authority to bring life to that in whatever capacity we are. Amen. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to read some of your comments, and we've got about another 10 minutes, and I want to read some of your comments. And I would hope that you guys continue to make a few comments as we bring it to a close. We got about 10 minutes left in the broadcast. Bilal said this. He says, order out of chaos. And I do want to emphasize that just a little bit. Order out of chaos. Chaos is the standard. For example, when I don't know about something, that's ignorance, right? And in order to gain knowledge, I've got to go and I've got to do and I've got to acquire the knowledge about that. Knowledge doesn't come organically. Knowledge comes through an asserted effort to gain it. Ignorance, on the other hand, comes organically. We come here void of knowledge. We come here as infants, void of knowledge. And I must effort to gain the knowledge, okay? And that gaining of knowledge brings order, brings understandings, brings clarity. And I now can begin to operate from a different plane because of the knowledge and understanding and clarity that I've gained. Life brings knowledge, understanding, and clarity. It makes it possible for those things to reside with me. Okay? And it's important for us to begin to understand that. And I want to invite all of you that are listening to begin to embrace that. Eric says this, my understanding, okay, Eric, I see it's a play on words of what a problem is not an issue, but a learning lesson to teach me more about myself. Once learned, I will not have to see this lesson again. And if I do, I will be able to see what was missed and make appropriate correction and or changes. Absolutely. Spot on. My inner standing, and that's a play on the word of understanding. Thank you, Eric. I like that. My inner standing of what is a problem is. Once I gain that knowledge, and let's assume that problem presents itself again, it's on me now. I can address that accordingly because why? I have the knowledge now. I possess that knowledge and understanding and clarity to go address that. I know what to do. I know how to fix it. I know how to correct it. And that's what we have to begin to do. I want to say this. I know we're butting up on time, and really, this has been an absolute jewel of an understanding for me, because I see the privilege of releasing and imposing life in the presence of the lack of life, the lack of understanding and clarity, the lack of order. I can impose life and then order sets in, clarity sets in, the desired things begin to set in because I've imposed life on that situation. It's imperative for us to begin to do that, everyone. It's imperative for us to begin to do that. Sean said this, to be gods in the earth, and I want to just touch on that for a few minutes before we go on. And by the way, again, I want to encourage you, if you still have any comments or any thoughts, please feel free to share them. I'd love to dialogue with you here before we close. To be gods in the earth. And Sean, I noticed you wrote that with little g, and I understand exactly where that comes from. And because we revere God, capital G-O-D, as the God and the creator. We have been created. Okay. we've been created, and thus the little g allows us to operate as God embodying us. But I want to give some insight just for I want to give some insight for just a second. Um, it is imperative for us to understand that what Elohim, what the Creator did, was to come and to dwell with men, not with men as much as we understand with to mean, but in men. Okay, with us, in us. Okay, in that particular instance, with and in are synonymous. The Creator came to dwell in us, and as such, they brought their wholeness, their oneness, their eternalness to be in us, and we are operating as them in the earth. Now, whether that's a capital G or whether that's a small g, however you want to look at that, that's fine. Allow them to define whether or not that G is capital or whether or not that G is small. That's up to you. But don't let religion drive whether or not that is a capital G or a small g. If you are embracing one or the other, fine, embrace it. But embrace it, whether it's a capital U. I am operating as God, capital G in the earth, or I'm operating as God, small g in the earth. They did this, and we embraced it. Okay? Charles said this. Janet says this: lack of life. Janet, that is the root, as I am learning it. That is the root of all of our issues, is the lack of life. Okay? I'm not talking about sentient life, as in breathing and thinking and knowledge. I'm not talking about that kind of, I'm talking about the life that gives and illuminates all things. The lack of that is the problem. Okay? The lack of that which illuminates all things becomes the problem and the challenge. Okay? And I use the word problem loosely here. That's where we need to focus, is releasing that, embracing, receiving that, and then releasing that into whatever situation we are confronted with, whether it is sickness, disease, poverty, injustice, lack, whatever the case may be. Charles said this: be faithful unto death. The death of your mentality to pick up the mind of Messiah. Hang on for a second. Got some comments coming in. And I will give you a crown, legal authority of life. Now you can dispense life every place that needs it. Thank you, Charles. I really appreciate that insight. And to pick up on Charles's point, I will give you a crown, the legal authority in the earth of life. Now we can dispense it, that anywhere that we see the necessity or the lack of it being manifested, I can release that. Now, I want to say something, and I want to, because this is an expansion of something you've heard me say before. We're all called to our certain areas and spheres of influence and responsibility. Okay. And it's imperative that we begin to exercise this authority that Charles just so eloquently pointed out, that we exercise those authorities within the realm and the spheres that we have been assigned, and begin to exercise it there. The opportunity will come when others will call us into their sphere. And when we get the invitation to go into their sphere, we have the authority, by virtue of that invitation, to begin to exercise within their sphere, share, enlighten, and teach within their sphere. Okay? And teach. Anytime we begin to teach, we have to always embody the understanding that what I'm sharing it with you is what I received. It's imperative for you to go get what they have for you. Okay? That's something that we've got to begin to incorporate within, because otherwise all we're going to begin to do is and perpetuate the religion that has entrapped us and ensnared us for millennia now, with the same thing. And we want to break away from religion and embrace intimacy. Okay? And I'm grateful for that. Bilal said this, is darkness eternal? Darkness is, and first of all, Bilal, that's a profound question. Is darkness eternal? The reason that there was necessary, the reason that it was necessary for the Creator to establish light in the earth is because the earth was engulfed forever, however long, if you want to call it eternity, however long it was, the earth was engulfed in that darkness. So if you want to say darkness in that sense, darkness as in the physical sense, eternal, or darkness as in the spiritual sense, eternal, I would say that darkness is always present. It is the presence of light. It is the presence of life that dispels the darkness wherever the Creator is. Wherever the Creator is the embodiment of life and light. And wherever the Creator and what they've created enters in, they bring that life and light to whatever situation that is. So the answer to the question, is darkness eternal? I would say darkness is as eternal as the Creator is eternal. The Creator has power and authority over the darkness. And so wherever the Creator is, darkness is dispelled. I want to invite, that brings about a very good question. I want to invite all of us to begin to embark upon an exercise in your own way, okay, of what is the end game of this life, of this kingdom identity that we are embracing? What is the end game? Where does this culminate? I know what the Bible says. I know what religion says. I know what Islam and Hindu and Buddhism says. I know all of that. But is that what the kingdom is releasing in our season for us to understand? Begin to inquire of Elohim along those lines. Apostle Vince said this. He said, great message. Thank you, Apostle. I really appreciate that. For this season of life, our identity becomes the expression of life. Our identity becomes the expression of life in this world, in this lifetime. Our identity. We are being, listen, the identity of who we are. And I want to go back to something that Sean said, the little g versus the big G. Our identity is being unveiled in this season. And again, I know all of what religion has said about us and how we ought to be, and all. Just push that aside and begin to allow Elohim, the Creator, to say to you what it is that they would have you to understand as it relates to your identity, and begin to walk in that, because that's where your liberty is going to be. Okay. Gary said this, thanks for the new life and the living testament of that life. Absolutely. Absolutely. Felita said this, there is no growth, life, or understanding in darkness. Absolutely. Listen, guys, darkness is embodied by ignorance, lack, sickness, disease, poverty. That's what darkness represents, right? When light shows up, the antithesis of all of that begins to emerge. Order, abundance, knowledge, health, all of that begins to show up. And then now we begin to really walk in those desired benefits, for lack of a better word. When light steps on the scene, darkness has to flee. Absolutely. There is no growth, understanding in life or life in darkness, Felita said. There is no growth, understanding, or life in darkness, and capitalized. Thank you, Felita. And Belial said this: darkness, mirror, light, God contemplating himself. I want to say that darkness equals mirror. In essence, one of the things, and Belial, feel free to elaborate a little bit, because I don't want to put words in your mouth and misunderstand what you're saying. And we can take this up when we talk later this week. But darkness is present in the absence of the Creator. Whenever the Creator is not present, darkness is present. If the Creator is present in me, darkness can't be present in me, or well, it can be around me, but it can't be present in me. And as a result of the Creator being present in me and with me, wherever I am, darkness is dispelled. Darkness is eradicated, and darkness does not exist. And I begin to allow the Creator to share and to speak and to impose itself upon the present. I want to go back to what I said earlier. In the beginning, God, the Creator, said, "Let there be light." That was an imposition of light in the presence of the darkness. And when that imposition occurred, the darkness was dispersed and light took presence. And light took presence. It is amazing. It is amazing how that manifests itself throughout any area of our lives. Where light is absent, darkness persists. And I want you to shift your paradigm to understand that light isn't the absence of darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. So light imposes itself upon the darkness. Life imposes itself upon death. Abundance imposes itself on lack. And the list goes on and on and on. Final comment. Understanding is a deep understanding of ourselves, others, and our experiences that goes beyond surface level knowledge. It involves comprehending the underlying causes of our own and others' ideas, feelings, and behaviors. Understanding is different from understanding, which is getting basic information like through research, while understanding is when you apply that research and get firsthand experience. Eric, I'm smiling because you just articulated that in a way that that I've often articulated the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Okay, knowledge is acquired, wisdom is experienced, right? And that's you articulated that. We're saying the same thing, and that's why I was chuckling, because you were saying what I've always embraced in a different way, but equally appropriate. So thank you so very much. Well, listen, everyone, thank you all so very much. This has been a very intriguing visit today. Thank you for all of your questions, all of your comments. Felita, Bilal, Eric, thank you so much. Janet, Sean, Apostle Vincent, Gary, thank you guys for so much. Charles, thank you, man. I appreciate you checking in. I really appreciate all of you. Angie, thank you for checking in with us. Charles, I hope your grandson continues to grow his game, man. We got to stay on the grind. Evelyn, thank you so very much for joining in. Sandrea for checking in. Catalina, Rachel, thank you all so very much. Jolynn, I really appreciate it so very much. Pastor Lewis, I'm surprised I didn't hear from you, brother. I thought you were gonna give us some of that great wisdom of yours. Thank you all so very much. I really appreciate everything that you, the comments, you're being here with me today. And I want to invite you to join me again next week as we continue to share truths of the kingdom from an apostolic perspective. Share this on your social media platforms, if you don't mind, a link to this. Bring someone with you next time. Invite them to join in as well. And we'll see you again next week right here at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time as we continue to share truths of the kingdom from an apostolic perspective. Until then, be well, be blessed, and we'll see you next week.